After parting ways with the Indiana Fever in 2025 and signing with the Phoenix Mercury, DeWanna Bonner returned to Indianapolis with plenty of attention surrounding the matchup. But what unfolded on the court quickly turned into one of the most talked about moments of the season. Tensions flared almost immediately, and within seconds, the game erupted into chaos with a series of technical fouls and an ejection that left fans stunned. Sophie Cunningham brought the energy and intensity all night long, making sure DeWanna Bonner, Alyssa Thomas, and the rest of the Phoenix Mercury felt the pressure every step of the way. What began as a heated and controversial battle ended with Clark and the Fever sending a powerful message. If you're loving the fight and passion Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham continue to bring, show them some support down in the comments.
As that one doesn't go. And Bonner and Clark continue. And players and officials now getting involved. Security has come off the bench. And Clark is trying to get these fans into it.
DeWanna Bonner stepped onto the court at Gainbridge Fieldhouse on June 22nd, wearing Phoenix Mercury colors, and the reaction from the Indiana crowd was impossible to ignore. From the second she appeared, fans made their feelings crystal clear. This wasn't a few scattered boos or the usual road game atmosphere. It was a loud, relentless response that sent one message above all else. Indiana fans hadn't forgotten, and they had been waiting for this moment to let Bonner know exactly how they felt.
Well, we're already setting up a game for Wednesday night, by the way. But let's not forget DeWanna Bonner was a member of the Indiana Fever last season, and not sure if she parted on great terms, and Caitlin Clark and DeWanna now on multiple possessions getting tied up.
And now Hines Allen and Thomas, who had a couple.
So, here's why the situation carried so much emotion. DeWanna Bonner arrived in Indiana before the 2025 season with high expectations. She appeared in 9 games, earning 3 starts, but the partnership ended quickly when she asked to be traded. The explanation that surfaced was simple. The fit just wasn't right. There was no lengthy statement or dramatic press conference, just a sudden departure from a team that had spent a significant part of its offseason counting on her presence. That exit didn't sit well with everyone. Some former teammates reportedly felt disappointed with how things unfolded, and judging by the reaction inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse, Indiana fans hadn't moved on either. Every time Bonner touched the ball, the boos came pouring down, making it clear that memories of her departure were still fresh. But the story goes beyond the trade request itself. After leaving the Fever, Bonner landed with the Phoenix Mercury, a team that developed a reputation for bringing an extremely physical style whenever it faced Indiana. Those matchups became battles, with several Fever players ending up on the injury report and spending extended time sidelined. The situation became so difficult that Indiana's front office had to turn to emergency hardship contracts simply to field enough healthy players. In the WNBA, hardship contracts are only approved when injuries have severely depleted a roster, allowing teams to add extra players outside the normal limits. The Fever found themselves in exactly that position after enduring wave after wave of injuries, and the Mercury's physical contests against Indiana played a major role in those challenges.
Olsen snagging that offensive rebound. Good job. Yeah, the Colson, who was in Vegas, won some championships. And it was her birthday. She turned.
That's why when DeWanna Bonner returned to Indianapolis with the Phoenix Mercury on June 22nd, the atmosphere inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse was about much more than a simple trade request. From the perspective of many Fever fans, the entire chain of events was tied together. Bonner left Indiana, signed with Phoenix, and then spent the following season on a Mercury team that repeatedly engaged in bruising, physical battles with the Fever. Whether fair or not, that narrative had been building in the minds of the Indiana crowd for more than a year. And from the opening tip, Bonner appeared to bring plenty of intensity with her. She stayed close to Caitlin Clark, exchanged words, and constantly applied the kind of pressure meant to get under an opponent's skin. It went beyond ordinary on-court chatter. The energy between the two felt especially heated, as if Bonner had arrived with something to prove and had chosen Clark as the player she wanted to challenge throughout the night. What DeWanna Bonner may not have anticipated was just how different this Indiana Fever team had become by June 22nd. This wasn't the injury-riddled squad that struggled through roster shortages and relied on emergency additions a year earlier. The Fever had evolved. The group surrounding Caitlin Clark now featured greater depth, more physicality, and a stronger sense of unity, especially when it came to protecting their star player. If Bonner expected the same vulnerable team she remembered from her brief 9-game stint in Indiana, that assumption didn't last long. It became clear early in the game that the Fever were prepared for whatever came their way. The crowd was fully engaged, the players were locked in, and even before Clark found her offensive rhythm, the momentum of the night was already starting to shift. From the opening stages, it looked like Phoenix was heading into a much tougher battle than it had anticipated.
And look at Aaliyah Boston and the leadership.
Well, this is fighting for position, but, I mean, Caitlin Clark issued a technical foul. You can hear the crowd react.
And Clark is perplexed and shocked as to why she was assisted technical.
Well, I will say, release and jump around would also be an option, you know, pulling the chair.
The opening quarter was nothing short of shocking. Indiana managed to score just 6 points in the first 10 minutes, a number so low it marked the franchise's worst first-quarter output since 2016. That wasn't due to luck either. Phoenix's defense came in with a clear strategy and executed it perfectly. The Mercury clogged the paint, shut down driving lanes, and dared the Fever to beat them with outside shots before they could settle into a rhythm. Early on, that approach worked exactly as planned. Indiana struggled to generate quality looks, the offense lacked flow, and every missed shot seemed to add more pressure to the next possession. Caitlin Clark, who rarely starts slowly, missed her first 5 shots and failed to score in the opening period. As a team, the Fever shot just 2 for 18 from the field. In fact, they were moments away from ending the quarter with only 3 points, until Kelsey Mitchell drilled a 3-pointer with just 0.7 seconds remaining. That basket doubled Indiana's total to 6 and prevented an even more unbelievable stat line. By the end of the first quarter, Phoenix held a commanding 19-6 advantage, and it looked as though the Mercury were in complete control, with the possibility of a runaway game beginning to feel very real.
Caitlin, you guys trailed by as many as 16 points in the first quarter. What led to the response we saw in the second?
Yeah, just fight. First quarter was embarrassing. Got to be able to space the floor, make open shots, and get downhill. I thought we did a lot better job getting our feet in the paint. That's what allowed us to get better looks, and then we also got to the free throw line, which helped as well.
Indiana's struggles were only made worse by the way the game was being called. Throughout the opening quarter, many of the whistles seemed to favor Phoenix, while the Fever felt they were absorbing contact without getting the same benefit from the officials. The entire stretch carried a frustrating tone, as if nothing was breaking Indiana's way, even on possessions where they felt they had earned a call. During the break, head coach Stephanie White challenged her team to raise its intensity and bring more life to the floor. Her message was simple: stay aggressive, keep attacking, and trust that the shots would eventually start falling. She reminded her players not to panic and to believe that their rhythm would return. After the game, Caitlin Clark echoed that sentiment. She admitted that the Fever came out lacking energy and acknowledged that Phoenix's strategy of crowding the paint had disrupted their flow. According to Clark, the Mercury's defensive approach got into their heads early, causing the offense to become hesitant and out of sync. But despite the rough start, Indiana knew there was still plenty of basketball left to turn things around.
Clark from way outside drops a 3! Couple 50-50 balls on the last 2 possessions have gone the way of Phoenix and have turned into buckets. Clark, oh yeah! Here we go! Clark almost got that 5th foul. Find inside. It's Boston.
Everything changed when the second quarter began. Rather than waiting for the offense to find its rhythm, Caitlin Clark decided to create it herself. And saying she took control almost understates what happened next. With Indiana desperately searching for a spark, Clark became the answer. She erupted for 15 points in the second quarter alone, dragging the Fever back into the game with a series of momentum-shifting baskets. Several of those shots came from well beyond the three-point line, deep range that stretched past 30 feet and completely changed the energy inside the arena. These weren't the result of perfectly executed sets or clever adjustments designed to counter Phoenix's defense. They were the product of Clark making a statement. She stopped waiting for things to fall into place, trusted her instincts, and started firing from distances most players wouldn't even consider. In that stretch, it felt like she simply decided she'd had enough, and the entire game began to swing with her.
Indiana brings a double that time.
Clark. Mitchell is on an island. Clark wants to keep piling on. When will they pick her up here? She's not been afraid to let it fly from out there. Clark just spins off of Broshan. Indiana has numbers. Clark launch ahead, and Hall hits a 3.
The turnaround in the second quarter was nothing short of remarkable. After managing just 6 points in the opening period, Indiana exploded for 35 points over the next 12 minutes and completely changed the complexion of the game. Phoenix had built a 16-point advantage, but by halftime that lead had disappeared. With the teams heading into the break deadlocked, Caitlin Clark was at the center of the comeback. After being held scoreless in the first quarter, she erupted for 15 points in the second, accounting for nearly half of Indiana's offensive production during that stretch. It was as if a switch had been flipped. The same player who couldn't buy a basket early suddenly became unstoppable. That 35-point outburst ranked among the Fever's most powerful quarters of the season, making the contrast even more incredible. 1 quarter after producing their lowest first-period scoring total in nearly 10 years, Indiana responded with one of its best offensive stretches of the year. The swing was dramatic, and everyone inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse could feel the momentum changing as the Mercury's lead disappeared 1 possession at a time.
Hall bouncing. Billings, extra pass, Boston to beat the buzzer, and knocks down a 3. Billings, oh, nobody picked her up!
What that disastrous opening quarter really revealed wasn't a flaw in Indiana's offense. Instead, it highlighted something the Fever have shown time and time again. When the game starts slipping away, they turn to Caitlin Clark to inject life back into the attack. And in the second quarter, Clark embraced that responsibility without hesitation. But even with Indiana climbing back into the fight, Phoenix never backed off its physical approach. The Mercury continued to make every possession a battle, and despite all the momentum swings that had already taken place, the moment that would truly define the intensity and emotion of the night was still waiting to unfold.
Hopper able to win the jump. Thomas comes up with it, but is going to get whistled for an offensive foul. And she's looking at Nate Tibbetts. He doesn't even look to the back of the bench. He immediately signaled to take a look at.
Oh,
yeah, that's
saw
not
the elbow extend from behind, and
that's not going to get overturned, I don't think.
Then came the sequence that sent the temperature inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse through the roof. During a physical exchange, Alyssa Thomas appeared to catch Caitlin Clark with an elbow. Yet after the whistle, the foul was assessed to Clark instead. Officials even went to the monitor and reviewed the play, but after looking at the replay, they upheld the decision. The call immediately sparked disbelief throughout the arena. Fans who had just watched the collision unfold in real time couldn't believe what they were seeing, and the reaction was instant. A roar of frustration swept through Gainbridge Fieldhouse as thousands of people voiced their outrage all at once, turning an already heated atmosphere into something even more intense.
This is a successful challenge. The timeout will be charged to Indiana because they're due. Phoenix will retain their timeout.
just like we thought, right?
Caitlin
I would say this, okay? When you see the elbow, you go, oh, If she caught her, that would have been.
It could have been bad. Yeah.
Yes. But the officials are saying, Caitlin Clark put a little too much body into AT.
By that point, Caitlin Clark and Alyssa Thomas had been battling all night, with Phoenix continuing to push the physicality and testing the limits of what officials were willing to allow. Tension had been building possession after possession, so when Thomas made contact with Clark during another heated exchange, fans inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse immediately reacted. From their perspective, they had seen enough. And when the whistle went against Clark instead, the frustration only intensified. Clark showed her displeasure, and almost instantly, DeWanna Bonner stepped into the situation and got right in her face, adding even more emotion to an already charged atmosphere. What had been simmering since the opening tip finally erupted, months of storylines, a night full of physical play, and a growing sense of frustration, all came together in one wild, deafening sequence that turned the fourth quarter into complete chaos.
I understand the frustration in the technical because there's two players just battling for position. Oh my.
And they're still going. Now it's Cunningham and Bonner. And keep in mind, Cunningham and Bonner have history as teammates. Nate Tibbetts out on the floor, Stephanie White out on the floor, and Amy Bonner is telling everybody to go to their benches as DeWanna Bonner hears it from this Fever faithful.
Sophie Cunningham didn't step into the middle of the chaos to defuse the situation or play referee. She stepped in because she'd spent the entire night watching Caitlin Clark absorb contact and deal with constant pressure, and she had reached her limit. When tensions flared between Clark and DeWanna Bonner, Cunningham inserted herself immediately, sending a clear message that Clark wasn't standing alone. If anyone wanted to escalate things, they were going to have to deal with Cunningham first, and she made that point without hesitation. Now that she's sharing the court with Clark, that same mentality has become even stronger. The intensity she brought during the confrontation with Bonner on June 22 wasn't a surprise. It was simply Sophie Cunningham doing what she believes teammates are supposed to do when emotions are running high and the stakes are even higher.
Quarter we go. They're trailing by 10. Keep an eye on her and JC Sheldon. Clark trying to back her down.
Clark is okay.
Sheldon, that was Clark, hitting her in the face. Clark is upset about that. Then everybody's upset about that. Marina Mabry comes in. She decks Clark, tempers flaring on both sides.
The aftermath of the Sophie Cunningham and DeWanna Bonner exchange turned the game into absolute chaos. In a span of just 8 seconds, officials handed out 6 technical fouls. With whistles coming so quickly, it seemed like nearly every confrontation was being penalized. Tempers boiled over even further when Maisha Hines-Allen got involved in a physical altercation and was ultimately ejected, adding another layer of drama to an already heated night. That's what left so many people questioning the decision. Players around the league frequently argue with referees, gesture in frustration, or show far stronger reactions without being penalized. But on this occasion, Clark's brief display of frustration resulted in a whistle, and many observers felt the inconsistency was impossible to ignore. The controversy surrounding that call only added to a night already overflowing with tension and emotion.
Chris, I said it earlier, you saw it earlier too, like, AT doesn't get moved very easily, and so she might not feel like that's that much of a hit, but the officials are looking at it, and Caitlin Clark is saying ball don't lie, right?
I was going to say, the fans are enjoying a little bit of playground justice.
It's like you paid for overtime, but there's no overtime. It's just a really long fourth quarter. We still have.
But the most fascinating part came immediately after all the chaos. Following the confrontations, the technical fouls, and the endless stoppages, DeWanna Bonner stepped to the line and couldn't convert. Moments later, Alyssa Thomas had her chance and missed as well. Caitlin Clark had spent most of the night watching calls go against Indiana, and while she didn't need to say anything, her expression said plenty. The crowd inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse understood the moment instantly. There's a reason basketball fans have used the phrase, "ball don't lie," for decades. And that's what makes Indiana so dangerous. When Clark is scoring at a high level while simultaneously creating quality looks for everyone around her, defenses are forced into impossible choices. Phoenix threw everything it had at her, but once Clark found her rhythm, there simply weren't many answers left. Indiana's supporting cast stepped up as well, and together, they turned a chaotic night into another statement performance.
Played well here tonight for Indiana, giving Stephanie White 16 good minutes. Mitchell shot clock down to 4, putting up the moves, and knocking it down!
Kelsey Mitchell's offensive versatility played a huge role in Indiana's success. She wasn't relying on screens to create opportunities. She was pulling up off the dribble, attacking defenders who closed out too aggressively, and getting to her preferred spots with confidence. That forced Phoenix into a difficult position. The Mercury couldn't simply load up on Caitlin Clark and send extra defenders her way because Mitchell was fully capable of taking over possessions on her own. Trying to contain both players at the same time became a challenge with no easy solution. Mitchell finished with 22 points, and those points reflected exactly how dangerous Indiana becomes when it has multiple shot creators operating at a high level. Phoenix never found a comfortable answer for two players who can manufacture offense without needing perfect setups.
Game over her last 5. Boston kick out. Mitchell swing it. Hull hits a 3.
Boy, did Lexi Hull need that for her confidence. She is one of the best players out of...
Monique Billings entered the season with plenty of questions surrounding her fit alongside Caitlin Clark. Many wondered whether the two could develop enough chemistry quickly enough for it to make a real difference once the games started to matter. But the foundation of that connection was built long before Billings arrived in Indiana. That connection was on full display on June 22nd. Billings recorded her first double-double with Indiana, finishing with 14 points and 10 rebounds. Many of those baskets came from perfectly timed cuts and smart positioning, allowing her to catch Clark's passes in rhythm and convert with confidence. It's the kind of chemistry that can't always be measured, but it's becoming increasingly clear that the partnership between Clark and Billings is turning into a valuable weapon for the Fever offense.
Billings, oh, nobody picked her up! She will waltz to the rim, and Indiana has gone from down 16 to up 10.
And then there was the history-making achievement. Caitlin Clark's performance of 24 points and 9 assists pushed her streak of games with at least 20 points and 5 assists to 6 in a row, a mark no player in WNBA history had ever reached. 6 straight games. No one before her had managed to consistently combine elite scoring and playmaking at that level over such a stretch. What makes the accomplishment even more impressive is the context. This wasn't a quiet night against a team that let her play comfortably. Clark spent much of the game dealing with heavy physical pressure, controversial whistles, and a defensive game plan designed specifically to throw her off rhythm. And yet, she still delivered another performance that added to the record books. Putting up 20 points and 5 assists in one game is considered an outstanding night for any player.
She said, the GOAT right here. Vote her all-star.
Dubs. Big dubs! WWF. Y'all know what this means.
That's a dub, baby. We were dub! Ow, ow, ow! Dub City, baby. Come back Wednesday. Dubs in the chat. Look at all my beautiful teammates, y'all. This is what we do. Indiana Fever, baby.
Doing it 6 consecutive times requires something entirely different. It means carrying the burden of being both the team's top scorer and its primary creator, night after night, regardless of what defenses throw your way. Indiana came away with an 86-77 victory, but the final score doesn't really tell the full story of how the night unfolded. The Fever had to fight their way back from a rough 6-point opening quarter, push through a game filled with questionable whistles, and navigate a fourth quarter that completely unraveled into technical fouls and an ejection, before they were finally able to pull away for good. After the game, Caitlin Clark didn't hold back when speaking to reporters. Reflecting on one of the more controversial moments, she made her feelings clear, saying it was ridiculous that she was assessed a technical for clapping. No filters, no softening the message, just a straightforward reaction to a night where many felt the officiating took center stage. Even with all of that, she still finished with 24 points and 9 assists, once again delivering at an elite level. If you enjoyed the breakdown, show some love in the comments for Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more coverage and top stories. Click the video on screen, and we'll catch you in the next one.